Hey guys, Ryan here, and so we're bringing you two replays today. Two games I played back to back with Tony in the Chieftains, and I say that plural because the first game's going to be in the Valor Chieftain, and the second game's going to be in the Tech Tree Chieftain Mark 6. So this first game, obviously, as I said, I'm going to be with Tony in both of these. This was a +1 -1 event, I believe, and we are on port in the Valor Chieftain. We're in a Valor Chieftain platoon. Now, the thing about the Valor Chieftain is, it's got the other name as well. What is it? The T95 FV4201, or whatever the fuck it is. Before 6.0, I didn't like this tank. The gun handling was too derpy. Despite having more alpha than the Tech Tree Chieftain, better armor than the Tech Tree Chieftain, and being faster than the Tech Tree Chieftain, the gun handling really disappointed me when you think about the god tier gun handling that the Chieftain Mark 6 has. But after 6.0, with the crew skill improvement, the accuracy improvements and everything, I actually quite like this tank now. And it looks really nice, as do, like, Britain, or the British Tech Tree, has a lot of really nice looking vehicles, which we're going to get into after this game. But, because we're on port, which is a map I actually quite like, I don't mind it, but as a heavy tank player, I'm really not surprised. I'm going to start making my way over towards the town. There is an artillery platoon that we have to be wary of. And they also have a 279E on the enemy team, who I'm expecting to be over here at some point. Come to this position where I can be hull down. And now you just wait for the enemies to catch up. I don't want to push too far forward and get caught out. So you can keep an eye on my team as well behind me, because I've got teammates with. Get spotted, and speaking of Chieftain Mark 6s, there's one now. Nice shot to his lower plate. Got a backup. Second shot in. And as I said, the Valor Chieftain has more armor than the Tech Tree Chieftain. Like, the Tech Tree Chieftain's armor is actually pretty lackluster and disappointing. But obviously the main thing about the Chieftain Mark 6 is the gun handling. I really don't want to get caught out in the open in a gunfight with the Chieftain Mark 6. I will lose that fight. The penetration's the same. They both have APCR, standard and premium, with 270 standard pen and about 320 premium pen. And they both have 140mm of HES pen, which is absolutely astoundingly awesome to have that much HES pen. It's brilliant. You can do a lot of cool shit with that. Trying to get a shot at the M48A2, but he's behind some sort of solid cover. And instead, I tried to shoot a shot through the wall there, but I hit the gun mod, the E4. I didn't quite know where I was aiming at on him. So that was a terrible shot by me. I see multiple enemies on this side of the map. Unfortunately, one's a 279A, so I've now loaded the premium rounds, but the issue is that because the Valor has APCR, standard and premium, when you're fighting a tank with angles, you want heat. Heat will make it easier to pan. Having APCR can make it quite awkward, especially if I don't hit where I'm aiming for. So, penetration-wise, I can easily pen the 279E, but if my shot deviates a little, then I'm going to bounce a lot. Trying to push them forwards now. Managed to get round without getting shot. And there's a Badger I have to be wary of. And I'm going to try side-scraping against 277. Now, the thing is, both Chieftains are not the best at side-scraping because of the shape of the front of their hull. So bear that in mind. If you side scraping a Chieftain, it can be a bit awkward and might not go well for you. Also, the gun's mounted at the front, so doing regular side scraping can be awkward. And you can't reverse side scrape. By the way, an artillery AP shell just landed right next to me. And you can't reverse side scrape in a Chieftain, this one or the Tech Tree one, because when you try to reverse side scrape, you actually don't have enough gun depression over the back of the vehicle to aim properly while keeping yourself angled. So it's quite annoying, but you know, it is what it is. Right, Badger. Again, another British vehicle, like the Chieftain Mark 6, I don't want to get into a straight up gunfight with. Thankfully, I'm hoping that the artillery can't hit me here. I'm kind of hoping for a lot. You see, I'm actually so worried about the artillery, I'm actually going to move closer towards this building a little bit. The nice thing is, the Badger's in a bit of a predicament with multiple enemies at multiple angles. And right now I'm just farming him. completely like free of any potential of being killed. You're going to see me try to reverse side scrape here, but you see me start to lose that gun depression. So the only way for me to get the gun around the corner by reverse side scraping is I put my tank at such an angle where he can pen me anyway. So, perfect example right there as to why you can't reverse side scrape in Chieftains. Now the enemy kind of have our part of the map. I finish off the Badger, and now what I would need to do is I need to deal with the 279A. The other issue is, if I push round the corner to deal with the 279A, I'm going to have artillery shit on me. If I try to push back towards our base to defend it, and I'm spotted, which I will be because there's enemies down there, artillery will shit on me. So I'm kind of stuck in a bit of predicament here, and really it's turning into a thing where I kind of just got to go for damage. And I'm really hoping the 279A would come for me, but he's staying around that corner. I mean, if I want a bit more damage, I'm going to have to go. Might as well get the first shot into the 279A, activate the food consumable. We trade shots. And as you can see, we've got 10 seconds left, so at this point, I know I'm going to lose. Artillery steps in, puts me down to a one-shot. Thankfully, the 279A bounces. But I did get my extra bit of damage this game before the enemy cap out. So overall, the loss doesn't mean much. At a certain point, just have to accept it, that there's not much you can do, just go for damage. And the game of the Valor Chieftain, a tank I quite enjoy in Update 6.m. Obviously, I didn't manage to come in the top 3 this game, fortunately, but 5,360 damage, 2 kills, high caliber for this game, got the most damage on both teams. An overall pretty decent result. Now, I'm going to leave the game playing. Rather than skip to the next game, I'm going to go back to the garage. I'm going to bring you guys with me. So I'm going to leave this part in. During that game, me and Tony were talking, and I brought up the fact that we were in the Valors. I fought against the Chieftain Mark 6. We were saying about how I don't play the Chieftain Mark 6 too often, and I've not given it too much of a chance since 6.0 to see if I like it anymore. So in this next game, I'm going to go back to the garage, and I'm going to set up my Chieftain Mark 6, and I'm going to decide to take it out for the first time in a fair while, just to see if I can start getting back to grips with it, and how it compares to the Valor Chieftain. So I get back, I get offered some tank. And now, the other reason I'm bringing this back here is because I have a bit of a bug, and I'm wondering if anyone else has it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the commander over to the Chieftain Mark 6. And there's a thing with the Chieftain where every time I play it, you'll see I have no consumables on it. I used to have consumables, and I thought it was set to auto resupply because all my vehicles are. But every time I play a game in the Chieftain Mark 6, I keep having to reapply the consumables manually. They don't auto resupply. And the Chieftain Mark 6 is the only tank I own that does this. Am I doing something wrong? Have I not got something selected? How do I select it? But do any of you guys get it where your consumables don't auto resupply? Is it a common thing, or does it only happen on one particular vehicle for you guys too? I've no fucking idea why it does this. But it is what it is, I suppose. This is quite annoying, because sometimes it means I go into a battle without any consumables. So, speaking of consumables, I have a premium repair kit. While we're here, I might as well tell you what I'm doing. Med kit, because British tanks lose quite a few crew members. And also, the repair kit's kind of something I use on every tank, the premium one for reusability. And I decided to go with food instead of a fire extinguisher. Why have I done that? Well, you just have to think, does the vehicle you're using get set on fire a lot? And in this case, no. The FA215B gets set on fire a lot. The Chieftain Mark 6 and the Super Conqueror get ammo racked a lot. So as long as I've got the repair kit, I can keep repairing the ammo rack. That's all really that matters. Being a cheap prick and just putting 7-day camos on, just while I test the vehicle. And this is what I mean. The Chieftain Mark 6 and the Valor are both really nice looking tanks. I think the Chieftain's up there as one of the better looking tanks in the game. Feel free to let me know what you guys think for good looking tanks. Because the Centurion Action 10 and the 7-1, which are quite similar looking, are also really nice looking tanks. I think the Cromwell's a really nice looking tank. The Conqueror looks really nice. I really feel like Britain has a lot of nice looking tanks. The Japanese, I don't know what you guys think. I actually highly rate the STB-1. I think it's actually a really nice looking vehicle. My brother disagrees with me on that. But, you know, to each their own. So I'll be really intrigued to hear, what do you guys think are some of the best looking tanks in World of Tanks? So as we get into this game, enough waffling. Pilsen, Chieftain Mark 6. I actually quite like this map as well. Port and Pilsen, I actually like both maps, if I'm honest. No artillery, super key to playing a chieftain, because you want to go hull down, and this thing's hull armor is not very good, so even splash damage from artillery can be quite severe. So the fact there's no artillery is absolutely beautiful. There is an Object 268 version 5 platoon on the enemy team, and unfortunately me and Tony are going to have to deal with them. So I should have mentioned, Tony, this game is also in his Chieftain Mark 6, so last game we were both in Valors, this game we're both in Chieftains. And because there's no artillery, we're going to go 9-0 line, because we can set hull down. And the thing about the Chieftain Mark 6 is, the gun is absolutely astounding. The aim time, amazing. The accuracy, amazing. The DPM, outrageous. The thing I don't like about the Chieftain is, for how shit the armor is, it's very slow. Like, I don't know if other people notice that, the Valor has much better armor, and this is quite a bit faster, but the Chieftain, for how being, like, what is a substantially weakly armored tier 10 heavy, obviously better than, like, a T57 heavy, probably, maybe, or something like that, and the 50B, which I know isn't a heavy anymore, but basically is. Just, it's such a slow vehicle. Also, 390 view range instead of 400 can suck. But, it's got that gun. APCR is standard, awesome gun handling stats, and managed to nail that light tank in the face. And as I said, normally I don't come to this part of the map if there's artillery, but if you look at the map, me and Tony have come here, and it is literally just me and Tony. We're going to single-handedly fight this flank. So, the light tanks over here that we know of, there's an AMX-30 that's arrived here. And while I'm waiting to see what else shows up, because we're going to have to hold the position, me and Tony can't push when we're the only two here. And now the 268 version 5 is shown up. Now we do have a heavy tank to our right, but he's not going to be able to shoot at people on this side of the ridge. Try to hit the turret of the 268 version 5, doesn't work. So I'm going to try to stay hull down. Lower plate shot, and I'm going to actually activate food here. Now the thing is, that 268 version 5 can actually pen me straight through the turret, so I have to be very careful of his gun. And the reload on my Chieftain's actually got down to 5.7 seconds. And what that means is, my Chieftain right now, if I roll average with every shot, has over 4,000 DPM. But of course, you're not going to roll average with every shot, because this is roll of time, because you get a lot of low rolls. But theoretically, I was at over 4k DPM here with the food active. The MX-30 does a suicide run to put a shot in me. Does kill a crew member. As I said earlier, the Chieftain and a lot of British vehicles lose crew members quite often, so a med kit is highly recommended. Another shot in 268 version 5. I don't mind the 30B or AMX-30 doing that run. He can do it as many times as he wants, because I'm going to be ready for him next time. I know he's the kind of guy to do that kind of move, so I'm going to remember that. Right, there's another TD to our right. You may have seen him briefly on the minimap. And I end up trading with the light tank. Light tank gets a good little snapshot into me. And the MX-30's here. I start turning in time, get one shot into him, and then he's gone. Ignore him, go for the 268 version 5s. Or so I thought, but this guy's been playing like a maniac, so I start to think, he's actually going to jump back over, isn't he? And of course, he is. This guy in the MX-30, I don't know what his problem is, but he just went mental. He gets tracked by Tony. I get another shot in. Tony should reload first, so I'm going to leave it to Tony to deal with him. So, interesting plan by the MX-30. Maybe he was hoping if he pushed, the 268 version 5 would come over while we were turning around, but they didn't. I deal with the 268 version 5, I load the Hess for the light tank, and I do pen him for 427, so quite a substantial low roll with the Hess, but I did pen him at least. And now, me and Tony on that side of the map, 9-0 line, have basically single-handedly won it. And as I said, 268 version 5s are very dangerous tanks to fight because they can pen my Chieftain straight in the face. And I've actually come away from this relatively unscathed. So now what we have to do is we have to use the fairly poor mobility to move to the other side of the map. The good news is, it's a pretty small map, so I don't have to move too far. The other good thing is, I still have a decent amount of hit points as well, of 1500. So what I'm doing here is I'm just scanning the hit points of different vehicles to see what there is. There's an almost full health Andre the Giant somewhere over there, which is just going to be a pain in the ass to deal with. Like, the Andre the Giant's armor is pretty awkward, but with gun handling like you have in the Chieftain, cupola sniping him repeatedly shouldn't be too big of an issue, really. TD gets killed, which is very nice. TDs are not something you ever want to get hit by. And speaking of, there's an E4 around here. Come round, I only track him, not doing any damage, and now I don't want to poke round there anymore. Unfortunately, I'm trying to bait a shot into my tracks, but the E4 is still looking over here and it's not quite taking it. And I have to be careful of the Andre, who has taken a few big shots now, but still an awkward tank to palm. Try to get a very cheeky shot in there on the Andre. The E4 has just fired, so I know I'm going to beat his reload quite substantially. However, there's actually a TVP over there as well. Our E4 kills the enemy E4, and I derp a shell at the TVP. And you're actually going to see I'm actually going to derp another shell at the TVP. And I come around here, there's a bit of like terrain in the way. I try to shoot through the thing, the little metal bars there, but unfortunately they catch my shot. Still going to get the kill though, with hash. Because I knew I could pen a TVP with hash, so I was trying to go for hash pans, and now I'm actually just going to keep the hash loaded. Why? He's awkward to pan, so why bother trying to cupola snipe him when I can just accidentally block a teammate's shot, but I can track him. I still did 100 damage, just over. I can keep him tracked, I can get the assistant, and I track him again. Pick up 700 assistance from a teammate, and actually he's on such low health now that I actually can kill him with the hash. So if you play a Chieftain, Valor or Tac Tree, bring hash, lots of it, it's really fucking good. So in this game, despite it not being the craziest of results for a tier 10 vehicle, our 268 version 5 went ham, by the way, over 7,000 damage with 4 kills, so big GG to him. I only managed less than 5,000 damage and 4 kills, like with about 1,000 assistance. Apparently, an ace tanker in a Chieftain. So, people aren't really playing this tank too well, but with its lack of armor, I'm not actually too surprised that people might die a bit early in these tanks. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.